Welcome, everyone, to the VYPE Coaches Corner, where we are joined by the legendary Randy Allen of Highland Park. Coach Allen just finished his 39th year of being a head coach in Texas high school football and 46th overall in coaching. He holds an overall coaching record of 403 and 89 and has led Highland Park to 4 state championships, including 3 straight from 2016 to 2018. After that introduction, which really, Coach, no introduction is needed for you in the high school football coaching circles. How are you and your family doing during this time of quarantine?
Well, we're just like everybody else in Dallas. We're sheltering in place and keeping our social distance and wearing masks when we go into stores. But we're very healthy and, we're ready for this to be over with. But it looks like we're in for a little bit longer without sports and without football and without seeing our players.
So, this past season, we mentioned the 403 wins. You became the 3rd coach in football history in Texas to win 400 games. You joined G.A. Moore and Bill Danaher. What was it like to join that club and be one of 3 coaches to have won 400 games?
Well, it was wonderful. The night we won it, we won an overtime game against Lancaster, so it was a very thrilling game. But I never sought to be one of the 400 game winners. That wasn't some goal I set in my career, but I was blessed to be in a school district like Highland Park with some great players and coaches, and the longevity to stay in coaching long enough to win 400 games. And then when you look at the other great coaches that have been in Texas high school football, and only 2 have won more than that, G.A. Moore, who's a personal friend, and Phil Danaher, who's also a personal friend, it really has significance. And it was really an honor for me to represent Texas high school football coaches in that way. And hopefully I'll bring honor back to the game. And I realize that I'm only here because they're only successful because of the players and the coaches that I've been around.
So, Coach, take us back 20 years. You arrived at Highland Park in '99. And they hadn't won a title since 1957. When you came in there, what were the pillars that you were trying to build that program on, kind of from the ground floor?
Well, Highland Park came at a time in my career where I didn't know if I was going to win a state championship. I had been coaching at Ballinger, Brownwood, and Abilene Cooper. And in '96, we had gone to the state finals and got beat by Westlake when Drew Breeze played there. And I was just coming to Highland Park to help them continue a great program. We say this all the time about Highland Park. They were winning before we got here, and they'll be winning long after we leave. And one of my friends in Abilene said, you won't win a state championship if you go to Highland Park. He had played at Lake Highlands when he was in high school. And I kind of kept that in the back of my mind, and because our boys play harder when they think they're underdogs and when somebody tells them they can't do something. And we had a great football team in 2005 with Matthew Stafford, so everybody in our community knew that we had a chance to win it in 2005. But it took any time you win it, you got to win a game you're probably not supposed to win, or you got to do something. You got to come from behind to win a game, or you got to overcome some adversity or something. And that year it was the Stephenville semifinal game where we had a turnover late in the game, and they had the lead, and all they had to do was run the clock out on us. And Chad Morris was the coach on the other sidelines. Mm-hmm. And our linebacker intercepted a pass. We scored with 40-something seconds on the clock, and then stayed ahead at the end of the game to win it. And then winning these last 3 state championships, what happened in that situation is we had dropped from 6A to 5A. And so I thought our football team had a chance to win the state championship because we had played such tough competition for 2 years in 6A. We had gone 10-2 both years and been eliminated by Waco Midway. But those 2 tough years in 6A really got our guys mentally tough. And now it was just a matter of convincing them they could do it. And then we were fortunate, we had some good players and John Stephen Jones was the junior quarterback. We had a great defense and beat Temple in the state championship. And then the next year we had John Stephen was a senior, and we upset a Manville team that was very, very talented. We were very fortunate to win that. A lot of things had to go our way. And then the next year when Chandler Morris was our quarterback, we came from behind against a very good Tyler team and won that one. That was the game we had to get by before we played Brad Butler and his group of, from Shadow Creek, and that was a tough game. And then this past year, we didn't get to the state championship, and that's a real tough thing for our football team and for our coaching staff to get beaten overtime in the third round of the playoffs by Lone Star.
You mentioned, of course, Brad Butler, one of your former players. He's the head coach of Shadow Creek, and y'all faced each other last year for a state title. His team got back to state this year, won it. What would that mean for you? I know you would love to be there and playing and stuff like that, but what would that mean for you to see your former player win a state championship with his program?
Well, you're always honored when a former player goes into coaching and much less wins a state championship. Here's the real unusual thing. Dave Hennigan, I hired Dave Hennigan at Highland Park, and he coached Matthew Stafford, who was our number one draft pick in 2000. Well, he played for us 2005. And Dave was the head coach at Denton Ryan this past year when Shadow Creek played them for the state championship, and Brad Butler and Shadow Creek won that game. But yeah, I was really thrilled. I'd have been thrilled for either coach, Dave Hennigan or Brad Butler, but for Brad to win it, and he and I talked, you don't get any guarantees in the coaching profession, and when you get a chance to win it, and you do win it, it's huge for your career, and it may be the only time you do it. So you got to take advantage of those opportunities when you get there.
So, Coach, I mean, you've seen kids get recruited out of your program every single year. Recruiting has changed. Social media's kind of changed it. What advice do you give your kids coming through the recruiting process now in 2020?
Well, we try to get them started early to go to camps on the campus of the schools that they want to attend and get exposure. If we'd had spring training this year, there'd have been a lot of coaches at our spring training to look at our players. And so right now we got 3 players that are getting offers. One guy's got over 30 offers, and the other's probably 10 offers. And so they're getting those offers based on their junior film. And right. It's unusual. One of our the quarterbacks getting some offers actually has not started a game. He played behind Chandler and will be a senior next year. And, there are some guys that probably would have been looked at had we had spring training because they could have made an impression on the coaches. But when you're going just on tape only and it's just hard on this junior class because normally they'd be going to those camps in the summer. They'd be going and they'd be performing in front of coaches at spring training. And now that you don't have that and probably won't have camps in the summer, I don't know. I wish we would. I hope we do. But there's a chance that we won't have those camps in the summer. Coaches are having to make a lot of decisions based on film study and what they get on video.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, based on what the head coach says, because this straight line recruiting has been a big plus because those coaches come through the head coach and they ask pointed questions, and if the head coach is supportive of his players, then that's a real green light for them to go recruit the player.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned not having spring football this year for a lot of programs. That's a change of tradition and things like that. And I know you've had quarterbacks such as you mentioned Matthew Stafford, who's of the Detroit Lions, and Chandler Morris, who's signed with Oklahoma. You head into the 2020 season needing to replace Morris. How do you go about developing that next quarterback without spring football and no 7-on-7 this summer?
That's a good question, Joshua. And I'm going to retreat just a minute because I didn't get a chance to finish my question. One of my all-state quarterbacks was Brad Butler at Brownwood. and he was one of the players. His dad was on the school board that hired me at Brownwood, and so there were a lot of things going into that game when we played Shadow Creek with Brad Butler being on the other sideline that were pretty special. Some of my former players from Brownwood were on Brad's sideline because they were his teammates. But anyway, I wanted to mention that. But the way you get quarterbacks ready without 7-on-7 is we were going ahead and doing 7-on-7 in the athletic period before spring break. And we had already had our quarterback training before spring break. When spring break, we were going to come back after spring break and then start playing 7-on-7 against our defense. And, of course, had it been a regular summer, we'd have had a 7-on-7 league and we'd have played once a week. Our quarterback had actually been on a select team, and they had been playing many games on the weekends. So he had actually gone to Las Vegas and played in a tournament where there were 100 and something teams, and his team had won. It was a select team of Dallas players. So he had been getting some really good work in with that 7-on-7. And now that there won't be any 7-on-7, it's just up to the quarterbacks to be able to get on a football field with their receivers and throw and catch. And, you know, in our community, the police are driving around looking for social distancing at all the fields. So, you know, it's hard to find a field right now where you can go throw with your receivers. But there'll be a time when things will loosen up and they can go get on the field and throw with their receivers. But I was originally in the group that started 7-on-7 in the summers and played to the state championship. I was on the board of directors. And since I've been at Highland Park, we've kind of gone the gamut. We've gone to playing for the state championship, looking forward to going to College Station in July to play for it. And I got a couple of players hurt in the College Station during that 7-on-7 tournament. And so I quit playing to go to college, the 7-on-7 tournaments, and just started league play here locally. So we usually get 3 or 4 teams to come to Highland Park and play 2 or 3 games one night a week, and that gives our guys enough practice to where they're ready to go for the season.
All right, so we're going to dive into a lightning round. Just think about the opponents that you've played. Who's one of the toughest athletes that you've had to prepare for, over your time coaching?
Wow, that's a tough question. We've had some great competitors and some great opponents. I don't know.
You might have to give us 5.
Sir?
You might have to give us 5 for all the, big high-level games you played in.
Well, I was just thinking about in the playoffs. Denton Ryan's had some great athletes. Spencer Sanders. They've had some really fine football players. When you think about Manville, they had a great football team that year and some really great players. And if you're talking about Shadow Creek, I thought they had one of the best defenses we'd played, one of the best secondaries that we'd played. Mm-hmm. It's just, I don't know. Once you get to about the 3rd or 4th round of the playoffs, you're playing really good players every week. And I can't think of an individual that really sticks out as being some great player that we played against in the playoffs. There's just been a lot of them.
Yeah.
What for you, Coach? I know you've been in coaching for a long time. What has been the toughest road opponent you've had to face when it comes to their student section, their fans, their crowd? Like, what's the hardest place to walk into and play?
And I want to mention, I think Longview is going to be the hardest one next year. We got put in a district with Longview, and I understand playing at their home place is a tough place to play.
Talk about if you weren't coaching, what would you be doing? Like dating back to when you started coaching, what other career path may you have gone on?
Well, believe it or not, I really never considered anything else. I was 12 years old when I decided I wanted to be a football coach. And the thing about it, in Abilene, Texas, Chuck Mosier was the head coach at Abilene High School, and they won 3 or 4 state championships in the 50s. And when I was growing up, he was admired in the community and treated with a lot of respect. And I just thought, I can combine 2 things in coaching, my faith in Christ and my love for competitive athletics. Grant Taft was at McMurray during that time, and there were just a lot of great role models. And I just thought, that profession, it combines everything that I want to do. So I really never doubted or never thought about doing anything. They always tell you in coaching, if you can do something else or you'd be happy doing something else, you probably need to do that, because coaching demands so much of your time. And
Right.
it's sometimes a hard profession. I did spend 3 weeks out of the profession when I announced my early retirement, and then came back, and I did have some opportunities, but not anything came close to the thrill I have of being with those players and coaches, and the joy I get from, coaching at Highland Park High School.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, you're about to go into your 40th year as a head coach, your 47th year overall in coaching. What are you looking forward to the most this year?
Well, a new group, every year's a new group, and we got a bunch of new starters, got a senior class that's really excited about their chance to leave it better than they found it. And so it's just a challenge of taking a group of guys and finding out what kind of football team you can make out of them. And, you always have a few changes on your coaching staff, so it's getting those new coaches oriented and being mentors to them. And it's just the excitement of the potential of what a football team can be. And, when you got I just believe this, you got a bunch of high school guys, and you got to get them to believe in themselves and trade the me for the we to be a good football team. And that's a challenge and joy, is watching them come together and play really good football.
Well, Coach, we appreciate the time. We appreciate what you've done for Texas high school football, and run a heck of a program up there in Highland Park. We always enjoy getting to see your guys play every time we go up to AT&T Stadium for state championships.
Well, thank you very much, Joshua and Matt. Good talking to you, and stay healthy.
You got
All right,
it.
he is Randy Allen, the head coach of Highland Park. Thanks, Coach, for the time.
Thank you.